Hello everyone, this is Arrow, and welcome back to Sundown MHA Podfic. A little announcement, I have a Discord channel. If you didn't see it in the channel description, you can come over and talk about fan fictions of different fandoms, chat about like anything you want, art share, or even just watching me like play games or something if you're interested. Anyway, back to the fic. Today we'll be continuing Learning to Adapt to the Fall by Supupdog, Chapter 20, Inko's Mind. There are some triggers in this one, mentions of child abuse and a lot others like blood and gore. This is basically a POV of Inko's mind and trying to wrap around what's happening. This was all bullshit. This wasn't supposed to happen, and the heroes weren't meant to see any of it. She was supposed to help her son by plucking off his feathers so that it would be easier to operate on later. She might have been a little mean about the whole thing because Izuku was meant not to get them back, but he did. Inko was alternating from grabbing handfuls of them and just one to a few so she could keep her son on his toes, but then those heroes came in and ruined everything. She had to use her quirk to beat that wench of a woman, Midnight, making her see the one monster she never wanted to see again by using her power, the plague of the CRC's back so that they could never grow stronger. Nezu, the fucking born animal that got a quirk, that is only meant for humans, by the way. A quirk to make him smarter than humans, and he integrated into society. Inko knew that if Izuku went to UA, that Nezu could get his little monstrous paws on him, but she didn't think that thing would ever step into her fucking safe haven. Inko knew that Izuku was a good boy and would stay in line, especially since he finally manifested the other part of his quirk. The light that emanates from her son's body when he uses his quirk is nothing but raw power, and that made Inko giddy, knowing that he didn't need those abominations on his body just to wield it. It just took longer for him to know how to use it. Inko shifts around on the hard cell concrete with the shit blanket they provided. She can already feel the back pain that she's going to have by sleeping on this thing. Every second that ticks by makes her somewhat regret not killing that thing that she gave birth to all those years ago. It was Izuku's fault for being born like that. Why did he have to choose wings of all fucking things? Why did her body let those things reside in her for 9 months? Why didn't it try to kill it like all the other miscarriages they had? Why did that thing have to live besides the other normal babies she was meant to have? It made no sense to her. They got rid of them too. Hizushi thought it would be a good idea to keep them. It was a momentous occasion, the first one of its kind to see their little baby boy lose the things that made him a filthy, disgusting animal. They did have to go back to fix his hairline. Ugh, tail feathers, and some of the other places that just seemed to keep growing them. Her baby boy was supposed to be normal. That was why they locked it up for only their eyes and the CRC's eyes to see. Her little Izuku didn't even know he had them to begin with. They were in the main room for all to see. They even had a little progress book showing when their son would show signs of animalism and when they would finally free him from those animalistic ways. The CRC was already trying to turn some of the animals into normal humans, like they did with Suzuki, and the proof of their son changing to be more human helped that as well. Their baby didn't have to be burned, didn't have to be crushed, didn't have to be smothered in his sleep. Inko didn't have to kill that disgusting and vile thing that crawled out of her body. Her little baby boy. The main room slowly got filled up with more and more animal parts. Those things are on full display with pictures and description of the owners so they could see how far they came. It wasn't the only place they did this, but we were one of the first. The main room was a turning point in the CRC's history, where everyone could see that their god wanted them to save as many as they could, as many as they came from with the wild and feral traits of these beasts that roam around the planet. Inko saw many go down into the main room and always wished those things luck because they would soon be human. The main room also had an exit if someone were to ever find them. Hazushi made sure there was at least 2 clear exits for them. One was more hidden in that room, but that the other was on full display. He made them so that me, his emerald, could escape with her beautiful little boy, Hazushi's little Howlet. Inko didn't care about how Hazushi named them after jewels and crystals. That was just a little trait he had. Inko honestly thought it was cute. She was something precious and perfect to her husband, but he left her behind. She was on the top floor and left those heroes inside their home, their safe haven. She can't even tell if he actually tried to get them out because of that bitch on the steps that had such a fun backstory to read. An aunt that used her body to how she saw fit for most of their life, then injuring their aunt one day by accident when their quirk went out of control, knocking out her aunt at the top of the steps when she was a wee little girl. The aunt deserves to rot in hell, but it was something Inko could use. So she did, but Hazushi left her still. Nezu was there. He used the escape in the main room, probably the more hidden one, so if they did follow him, it would take longer to find him. He left her with the abomination of a child that he said to keep, and left her in this cold, dingy cell when they could be safe in a safe place together. Hazushi said he would never leave her. They promised each other, but he left her for those heroes that don't understand the CRC at all. They even brought her to a station that didn't have any of their members at all. There were some here, but they were office workers that dealt with the paperwork and not actual prisoners. How could he leave her behind like that thing he wanted to keep? Inko would have killed that thing, but he stopped her. She was forced to leave behind everything. They are probably touching all of her things. She always loved to collect shiny things and other stuff that looked weird. Since a lot of it looks weird, normally they might think it's actually something when it's just one of her little trinkets. Inko had to leave behind everything. All of the things she collected over the years. That one bottle cap that had Indian letters on it. That necklace she found and wanted to give to her husband. Everything was hers, would be touched and moved and fiddled with. Thinking about that was making her hairs on the back of Inko's neck stand on end. She didn't want anyone touching what was in her little room, the little room that was hers, and she would only allow Hazushi in. It was comfortable and had everything that she collected and so many pillows and blankets that someone could just sit on the ground, no point in chairs. She never let her son into the room because it was her room with everything she liked in it. She didn't want him messing it up or taking something from it. Midoriya, Inko. She looked over to the cell bars to see 2 officers again. Both of them aren't from the CRC, and that pissed her off a bit. You had a night to sleep, and it's now time to do the other interrogation. Please stand up. Inko stood as she glared at both the officers. These men that inflated egos that could have messed with her things. She slowly made it to the door and let the 2 brutes cuff her again. As long as she didn't struggle, she wouldn't need to worry about being hurt. We are taking you to talk to Turiman again, also known as Detective Sakutsuji. Inko just scoffed at the title and walked out of the cell, slowly being let into an interrogation room. Once they got there, they opened the door, set her down on the same chair as last time, and cuffed her to the table. The detective will be with you shortly, and with someone else unlike last time. Then they left her in the room with her thoughts. Inko just let her thoughts wander to her little boy, her husband that left her things that were left behind and was obviously moved and touched. Things like that randomly popped up in her head, and she waited for the detective. The door opened and Inko shot her head up to look at who entered, hoping that it was one of their own, but it wasn't. Good morning, Miss Midoriya. I'm glad to see I'm glad you seem more lively today." She sneered at him while another person walked in with a headset on their head. "This is one of our officers that has a talent to repeat everything said to her word for word. We wanted to have the person come in themselves, but they were held up by traffic." Inko just looked at the extra person in the room and quickly noticed it wasn't one of their own again. Someone should have come to her already. "So we don't get background noise from the call. They will say that the other person is saying. They can hear what's happening in this room and also see it, but they can't just talk for themselves at the moment." Inko nodded her head and looked at the two-way glass that probably has someone on the other side of it, looking and analyzing everything she is doing. It made her sick that someone would just lock up a person that just wanted to help those animals. Maybe it was a rabid animal behind that glass as well. This place seemed to have plenty of them. "Good. Now, we already went through the setup for yesterday's interrogation. We just need to do that again. Then I'm asking about your home and what went on in the underground room." They did the same thing yesterday, stating what's happening, why this is being recorded and all that bullshit. If Hizushi didn't leave her, she wouldn't need to do this. If he just let her kill that fucking thing that her body fucked up making. Once they were all ready for the questions, they re-asked them. They were still yes or no, but he needed it for the recording too. "Okay, now, my friend is going to be mostly questioning you." Inko just rolled her eyes as she slowly got more agitated. This was all bullshit, and if she could, she would have made that feral rat see how his past was. The extra person then sat up a little straighter and finally started saying that other person's questions. "Okay, why did you join the cult and what are you currently part of?" This made Inko's little bit of calm break as she jerked her chains and stood up. "It is not some fucking cult. We are a revolution waiting to fucking happen." "That does not answer my question, Inko Midoriya." "I found them when I was younger as they helped me through life. They first found Hizushi and shown him how disgusting his mutations were, and then they helped teach us how society is supposed to be." Inko slightly yelled as she refused to sit back down. No one was going to bad talk the CRC and get away with it. Those people were like family. No, they were revolutionaries, lying in wait so they could finally help everyone see how rabid animals shouldn't walk along with humans. "Good. Thank you for answering my question now. What is your group called?" "It is the CRC, you stupid dick." "What does the acronym mean?" "You said you did all this research into us and don't even know our name? Our cause? We are the Creature Regation Clan. Those rabid animals have no place living with humans, let alone near our cities." "Thank you for helping me know the name and part of what the cause was. Would you like to talk more about what your cause is?" This made Inko stop in her anger for a moment. They want her to inform them in their group? Why? She wouldn't just give information loosely, but maybe they just needed to hide their want to go into their group. This could be someone wanting to join, and that could also go the same with everyone in this room. Inko's eyes flicked to the camera in the corner of the room and finally noticed that it was off. "I was just curious about your group, that's all. Would you enlighten me on what your group is all about?" Inko stood there for a bit, trying to see if anyone in the room was lying. She couldn't see the other person's face, but their words seemed genuine, and they could just be using the call as a front. This person might be the person that actually wants to join, and they could just be lying about the call. Inko then calmly sat down and looked at them with slight suspicion. "Our group likes to have their secrets, just like everyone else. I won't just tell you everything." She needs to know. Are they actually wanting to join, or are they just going to sell all of them out? They all do need some more people in this place, so this could be good. Yes, of course. Namamosa and I are getting annoyed and a bit agitated at all of our animal workers. They just seem to follow their instincts only, even while on the streets and on the job. This got Inko to sit up a bit straighter. She was never one to find new members. She was someone that helped out new members, yes, making sure they know the basics, but never actually finding new members. Inko looked at both the people in front of her. She studied their faces the best she could. She had a degree in psychology, but that didn't mean she could read just anyone. These two are good at hiding their emotions. What Inko can see is interest, curiosity, some anger, but not towards her. That must be those feral animals these two poor men have. If she's able to get out of here, then she could go back to Izuku and maybe get her things back. Inko needs to get out of here. I can see that both of you turned off the cameras in here, and even the recorder here. You turned it off at one point and I didn't notice. The detective nodded his head and moved to show the recorder. Yes, I did. As I started at the beginning, I needed to at least re-ask some questions from before. I did that, so there was no point in having it anymore. This was really it. Inko could get out of here, and on her own at that. She could go back to her things in Izuku, probably will also be able to slap that man for leaving her behind. Okay. The CRC's main goal is to have Japan in the world at one point, to go back to where we didn't let those animals run things. Take that rabbit principle of UA, for example. It's a literal animal that helps children learn to be heroes. How could that wild thing know how humans save others? The detective nodded his head at that, same with the other one in the room. It seemed that the creature loved bringing his poor soul to work for it. It seemed like that creature loved bringing this poor soul to work for it all the time. We can turn some, like my husband, Izuku, and son, Izuku. We got rid of those disgusting things on them, and then they started to be more human. That's why I was so upset when Izuku got his defects back. We just got him to be 100% human, and then we get set back all the way to square one. We were even going to use his bad boy room as something different, but we needed to use it again. Inko went on as she started to try her best to get both of these men on their side. Those that can't be saved then must be terminated. It is better to let them die under the Lord's eyes than to let them live those animalistic lives they were forced to live. Is that why there are so many religious texts and scriptures in the underground room? Yes! God, our Lord and Savior, didn't make humans to just suddenly turn them back into animals. Humans that have come out wrong need to be fixed, and at one point, there will be no more of them. The world will be full of humans once again, and not these feral animals that claim to think like we do. How many have you saved? We saved many, many people. They were able to see how much life was better without those animalistic constants holding them down. Izuku was one of the first few that were able to be saved from his animal side. Izuku, my precious baby boy, was the youngest one to ever be saved. We have all his achievements in our archives in our Pure Room. The Pure Room also holds the past parasites animals' parts that others were freed from. We made sure that those were saved, stayed saved and pure. We have everything in the room under our house. Well, everything that was done at our pure site. Other sites have their own logs, but ours was the best out of everyone else's. What did you do to those that would refuse to stay pure, even with having all those awful parts being removed? We helped guide them to the best of our abilities. Depending on their age and personality, there could be a different guide meant to help them specifically. If they refuse more, we slightly move them back on track, like how we helped my perfect baby boy. So all those things we found helped your guides push those saved in the right direction? Yes, we do all we can to help those we have saved. How many of you are there? We have members all over Japan. We are always ready to help and guide those that need it. I mean, just last month a member found this poor child that needed too much help, and we helped them. They could be left in to fester with their instincts until it was too hard to help them anymore, but we were able to find them at just the right time. Was there ever anything important that happened in your groups? I can see with you all being laid out so thinly across Japan that it's a bit hard to stay in contact and coordinate well. Well, yes, being so far apart is more like having extended family, I suppose. We all do basically the same thing, but we are one of the few branches that actually try our hardest to help and guide those that need us. Other branches in the more crowded areas just like to dispose of them even if they could have been easily saved. The one that was said to be on call stayed mostly quiet the whole time, but they did nod their head here and there. They must be shy or something. Inko knows many people like that. It did seem like they wanted to ask a question, though, so Inko motioned him to ask it. Jiggling of her cuffs made her realize how restrictive she felt and wanted them off. Inko will probably ask for them to remove after this question, and then just put them back on closer to the end of the questioning. So, because the CRC helped your husband, I'm guessing they also helped guide you as well? Inko blinked as she looked at them. Help guide her? She didn't need guiding. Inko was human through and through. She had no animal blood running through her. Even if she didn't know her parents, Inko knows this for a fact. No? Why would they help guide me, when I am clearly human? Well, that's because you're not completely human. No, I am 100% human. Midoriya Inko, do you know your husband's family tree? Inko looked at both the men in the room in front of her. Hizushi did tell her about his family, full of wild beasts that spewed fire at every other word. They were cold-blooded animals that heated themselves with lava and the disgusting horde they gathered in their life. Yes, I know of his disturbing family and those awful lizards. Then, do you know what their main animal mutation is? Yes, as I just said, disturbing family of those awful lizards. Then you should be able to understand that the bird mutation your son has didn't come from your husband's side of the family. You're not implying that you think what you think. You're not implying what I think you are you? Inko knew for a fact she was human. She never had any urges, her collection. She did like shiny and glittery things because they're pretty, and the room she keeps them in her nest, is just meant to keep them safe from her son's hands. Izuku would have taken her things if she left them out in the open. He needed to control his wild instincts, and having her things in the open wouldn't help her son. She was human, not some monster. Does she have mutations? No. Well, so why would they even suggest that? Well, Midoriya, do you know your mother or father? If not, since I'm the main detective at the station, I could pull them up for you. You moron. Do you think I didn't try that? They didn't put down who my parents were. I just had my name to go off of. Did you personally look into it? Inko's eyes jerked over to the man on the left and glared at him. A scowl covered her face while leaning closer to him. No. Hizushi's boss did it for me and said I had no family. I was the only Tamaki alive and I didn't have any family. He said my family was normal and that I was human, not some freak sideshow that was abandoned. Inko glared at both of them while neither of them showed any emotion. It was ticking her off. They thought they were better than her just because she didn't know her family line? Inko knows that she is human. She isn't an animal no matter what they say. Well, if you would like to test that, I do have your family tree on me. Oh yeah? Then pull it out, you bastard. I know for a fact that I am human. This caused the one with an earpiece in the ear to bend down and grab something. That stupid truth detective started to move most of the things off the table as well. Inko just seized in anger, as she waited for whatever this stupid fuck brought up. A small pile of papers were then placed on the table, and on top was everything on herself. She could see an old picture from the orphanage there too. These are all the papers on you and your family. The top paper was picked up and it showed what she could see from the angle. It was her, all of her information and what she did in her life. Her eyes then zipped to the top of the paper as it described how she ended up at the orphanage. Inko Tamaki was brought in by her mother on. We had agreed to let her mother help around the place because it was free and she could still be in her So you dropped off by your mother, but that didn't really put her name on but they didn't really put her name on the paper. A finger then pointed to the spot that stated Inko's parents. It was official that your mother's name was Kumiko Tamaki, so all we had to do was look her up next. It was official that your mother's name was Kumiko Tamaki, so all we had to do was look her up next. Her paper was moved to the side as another was held up for her. On the paper was a heavily mutated woman with bird traits clear as day. Inko's eyes zipped to the name and the chair she was sitting on clattered to the ground as a piercing scream filled the room. Inko was human. She was not related to that thing. That was not her mother. She shook her head back and forth, glaring past the paper and snarled at the two men. That is not my mother. My mother was a human, not some flying rat. As you can see in the pictures here, Midoriya, that she did not have wings, so she would just be a rat from your statement just now. She was not a mutant, not some wild animal. More pictures were shown to her as she looked away from them. It was from when she was little, being held by that monster, smiling brightly. Another one showed how she gave that wild creature a happy Mother's Day card. Young Inko's pupils blown wide to the size of dinner plates. As you can see here, there are plenty of pictures of you two together. Kumiko Tamaki had most of her social media covered in your time as a baby. Inko's curiosity got the better of her when she was told there was a baby picture of her. She saw how the heavily mutated woman was holding a baby Inko, some bright green feather fluff coming out of her head. Huh, I don't have head feathers. That's another baby, not me. Well, right here. The man pulled up some more pictures and it showed her growing up and slowly losing that fluff as it slowly turned to normal hair. It shows the progress of losing your baby fluff and it becomes normal hair. This is you, Inko Midoriya. Inko tuned him out as she stared at the pictures. This could not be her. 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 Her mother was human. Her mother was human. Her mother was human. Her mother was human. Her mother was not a monster. Inko was out of it as she was taken away from the room. At one point, she did regain her mind as she looked around her cell, but that was okay. She was human. Nezu and Namamosa glanced at each other as they looked through the secret cameras that were placed in the interrogation room. They were both not happy with what they were seeing as they went over everything. Now, of course, they both thought that Inko Midoriya was somewhat not in the right headspace, but they didn't think it was this much. Seeing how much she broke after learning her mother was the reason her son became a monster, and is probably going to slowly learn that some habits she has is actually instincts. Nezu looked back over to Namamosa as the footage finally ended. I think we will have to have a very specific therapist to work with Inko. She might actually be in a type of psychosis that needs to be helped with. Namamosa nodded along as he started to write down different therapists that are good with these cases. That cult twisted so many people's minds, and just the motion of being born from someone with a mutation seemed to just break her more. Nezu got up as he stared at the door. She will never see the light of day outside of prison walls again, but I'm not that cruel to make her live in there without some type of help with those instincts of hers. It'll just hurt her more in the end, and that would make her feel too much like them. Namamosa put down one more person, then looked up at the chimera. Of course, we don't want her attacking someone after stripping off her bare bit of instinct she does have. Nezu waved goodbye from the door as he left. Have a better rest of your day, Namamosa. I need to spend time with my pack for a bit. After Nezu left, Namamosa sighed. These cases never seem to be easy. Whew! Okay, here are some endnotes memes. Inko, I know what I'm doing. Police station, we have none of your people. Inko, just a hitch in the plan. Masa, I'm a questioning man. Inko, I fucking hate this. Mutations on staff, just existing. Ingo, I am now very upset at Izushi. When I see him next, I'm slapping him. Nezu on the other side of the call. You like me. Inko finally fucking snapping. Nezu being slightly shocked. Oh wow, didn't know it did that. Nezu, I'm going to be on call instead of in the room. Masa, that's fine, that happened last time. Nezu, this time we'll tell her I am on call. Masa, why? Nezu, it will feel weird and look like a half-baked lie. It will make her drop her guard around you more, is what I'm hoping. Masa, okay, we can do that. Inko, I can feel the back pain already. Me sleeping on the floor because it's comfy. Inko glaring at me. Just wait till you hit your mid-20s, bitch. Me. Okay. Nezu later on. Masa, can we also shut off the cameras? Masa. Why? Nezu. Also, at one point in the interrogation, turn off the recording. Masa. Are you just trying to sabotage us? What the fuck? Nezu. Masa. We can have hidden backups. Masa. Oh. Nezu. It's okay, Masa. It's okay. Izuku being bird boy somewhere. Izuku. Oh fuck, wait, need to be normal boy. Zashi. No, it's okay to be a bird, Izu. Zawa still trying to talk more. Izuku, fine. Hawk's panicking because he thinks his baby bird felt a threat before him. Where the fuck are you? I will cut you in half, you fucks. Inko. I am human. Me. You sure about that? Inko. Yes. Masa. You sure about that? Inko. Yes. Nezu on the other end of the phone. Really sure? Inko. I said yes. Nezu throws evidence in her face. Check again, you psycho bitch. Inko proceeds to have a breakdown. Nezu not feeling the least bit sorry. Don't fuck with my pack ever again. Alright everyone, that is the end for chapter 20 of Learning to Adapt to the Fall. This is the actual official new fic after all those re-uploads, so I'm back. Sorry with the weird uploads and having to take it down, but I wanted to do this right from before, because when I was going into this, it was really just for fun, and I didn't know all the steps and how to do this. I thought people just uploaded and read the stories. I should have known better and actually asked for permission, and I didn't do that. While I didn't have the mindset that I wasn't going to profit off these people's stories, they didn't know that, and that's my fault. So I'm sorry for my past decisions. I'm gonna try my best to do better. My uploads will not be consistent now because I was uploading a lot before, 21 episodes every week. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking around with me after all that. I hope to see you all soon. Thank you so much for listening.